Hey Mercy Church, my name is Sarah Wampler and I lead the mobilization team here. And I'm really excited to look at Psalm 46 with you, especially because I feel like everyone knows this chapter for the verse that says, "Be still and know that I am God." But I want to look at it in context and ask the question, what does it really mean to be still? And what is it about God that we are examining when we're still before Him? So the psalmist starts with saying, God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. And before we just move on to the rest of the chapter, I think it's important that we acknowledge that actually believing that God is our helper who is always present in times of trouble is a lot easier said than done. And we doubt often that God is actually present with us in the hardest things in our lives. I love looking at commentaries and quotes from people who've studied passages like this in the past. And Spurgeon, when he was reflecting on this verse, said, "He has been tried and proved by his people. He never withdraws himself from his afflicted. He is more present than friend or relative can be, yea, more nearly present than even the trouble itself." So if this is true, then we have to examine what this means for our lives day to day. And the psalmist says, "Therefore we will not be afraid." And he goes on to say that even if the earth trembles and the mountains topple into the seas, that even then, in the worst case scenario, if the earth was falling apart, that God would still be with us as our refuge and strength, a helper who's always found in times of trouble. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I think of my worst case scenarios, my reaction is not to then immediately think, oh, I don't need to be afraid because God is present with me. And even this week, I was talking to God about one of the worst case scenarios I have in my mind for my life and how hard it was to trust Him that He is actually present with me. But the psalmist actually transports us to the city of God where God's people are dwelling with Him, and this is what it looks like. It says, "There's a river, its streams delight the city of God, the holy dwelling place of the Most High. God is within her in the city. She will not be toppled. God will help her when the morning dawns. And even when the nations rage, kingdoms topple, the earth melts when He lifts His voice. The Lord of armies is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold." So we get this glimpse of the presence of God with His people. And if anyone on earth can have security and peace, even in our worst case scenarios when the world is falling apart, it is us as believers because of the work of Jesus, we dwell in Him and He dwells in us. And that is our present reality and will be our reality for all of eternity. So the psalmist ends with saying, "Come, see the works of the Lord," and he describes God winning battles and wars and says, He shatters bows and cuts spears to pieces. He sets wagons ablaze, essentially saying, even the very things that are causing you distress will be ended by God. And this is where we get to the verse that everybody knows. In some versions it says, "Be still and know that I am God." But here it says, "Stop fighting and know that I am God, exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth." Stop fighting is another way of saying surrender. Stop. Put down your fears of worst case scenarios, of the earth falling apart, of the things happening in your life that you're so afraid will happen, and trust the sovereign hand of God, His presence with you. He is the one who is the Lord of angel armies. This is the one that we cry out to. So, Mercy Church, what if this week we stopped fighting and we surrendered? What if we took a deep breath and laid down our worst case scenarios, our deepest fears at His feet, and we declared together this: God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. Therefore we will not be afraid.